The idea that you need to study with other people or that you need to do group study sessions is complete and utter bull. I think it took me so many years to finally figure out how to study, how to note take, and how to study effectively without having to spend over 8 hours blocking myself somewhere miserable. So I kind of just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned uh, throughout all of my years of schooling. So, being in college now, I would definitely say that I've picked up quite a few tricks and done horribly on some exams and tried to study and practice different methods of studying. So, I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned along the way. And I have my computer here because I have a couple of notes. The first one is that a lot of people online will kind of really emphasize the idea of studying with other people. And I think that that's bullshit. You should learn the material alone, spend all of the time that you need to really digest and absorb the material, watch more YouTube videos on whatever concept you need to study, whether that's the endocrine system or the cardiovascular system, or whether you're learning electron configuration. You want to go back and watch videos to kind of prepare you for what you're going to learn when it comes to your actual lecture. Only preparing for an exam, it kind of makes sense to really sit on your own, focus, take your own notes, and then later, if you want to sit down with your friends and really focus on targeted questions or certain things that you don't understand and have kind of a discussion based learning approach after the fact, I find that that's more beneficial than sitting down with a group of your friends and just trying to learn the material while sitting next to each other. Because from my own experience, learning material, no matter if it's the field that you're interested in, can be very boring and it takes a long time. So, what I find ends up happening is that if I'm learning with my friends and they're ahead of me or some of my friends are behind me, it ends up slowing me down or stressing me out to the point where I feel like I have to speed up and catch up to them, or I have to stop and explain things to them, which I mean is great because that means that I can practice teaching them different things. But if I'm still in the learning process, it's going to kind of slow me down more than I would like. Learn the material alone, but practice the material together. And that's something that my roommate and I do. She kind of stresses me out way too much. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn this and then I'll call you if I need help or when I'm done with the material or when we catch up. It also helps avoid any stress because I find that sometimes when my friends and I are cramming together, it just kind of snowball effects and we're all stressed out, just pulling out all of our hairs in the corner of the library at like 1 in the morning and telling ourselves that we're going to wake up early the next day to finish reviewing, and it never happens. Yeah. So, the next thing that I wanted to talk about was actually going to class. Go to class. Maybe. Like, maybe attend. And you'd think that this is common sense, but you'd be wrong. You'd be so wrong. Because by the time you get to college and class isn't mandatory, especially your first 2 years or your first couple of semesters, you're like, oh, well, maybe I can get away with not going. And I know a lot of people don't intend to think this way, or maybe you think, oh, I'm just going to skip this lecture because I'm really tired today. And that's completely fair because I've definitely done that too. I've had 2 exams in a week, and if I'm missing one kind of not really important lecture, I don't think it's the end of the world. But if you're constantly missing class and you don't think that you're learning from your professor, you don't have to go and sit in lecture to actively take notes per se. If you don't want to go, just go to listen to what the professor is going to tell you about the exam. The professor is going to kind of mix in possible exam questions or things that you don't have to focus on when you're actually in lecture, right? So if you're sitting there and you don't understand a single fucking word that this man or woman is saying, all you have to do is sit there and listen when they say, I'm not going to ask you about this, or a possible question I could ask, or maybe they even say, don't worry about this slide. And then maybe hours later, you're trying to review and catch up the things that you missed in class, or maybe a week later, and you're like, wait, why is there no notes on that slide? Because they fucking skipped the slide and you didn't go to class. So try to go to class as much as you can. The other thing that I wanted to say is to hide distractions. A lot of people put their phones away, they throw their phone, they lock it in a box, they put their phone in another side of the room. So sometimes it's easier to have your phone on you. So what do? What I do is I hide my apps. I saw this on a video with Matt Davella, and I know that he's not the person that came up with this idea, but he had somebody on one of his videos and they were talking about the idea of the flinch or the twitch. I think it was the twitch. And you kind of have this twitch where you go to reach for your phone, especially when you're like leaving the house or something and you're just checking like, okay, wallet, keys, phone. And if you don't feel your phone, you're like, oh shit, where's my phone? Right? So has it ever happened to you that you'll move an app and your body will subconsciously just go and scroll where the app normally was and click, and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, I deleted that app. What am I looking for? So what I do is I take advantage of that idea of the Twitch, and I will put the apps that most distract me. So I will put Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it may be, far away from where it normally is located. Kind of gives me a buffer period where I can be like, okay, I'm looking for this app and I can't find it. This is kind of embarrassing. I should probably stop. And then I put my phone down. So that does require some means of being self-aware and knowing that I don't want to use this app. And even though I know where I moved it, I'm not going to pick it up. It's just easier to hide the distractions and at least give yourself some time to realize what you're doing, as opposed to just picking up your phone and you're just scrolling without even realizing. So whatever apps are distracting to you, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, put them away somewhere where it's harder to find. The next one is you have to be kind of uncomfortable to study. You can't study in your room. If I studied in here, I would get nothing done. Now, of course, there's people that have conditioned certain spots of their rooms where, for example, this corner, my desk, I associate with making videos or editing or studying, and I'm mostly awake at this point. And if I try to study in my bed, I associate that completely with going to bed, obviously. So why do I not want to study in my room? That is primarily because this is a comfortable place for me, and it's also very distracting. And you catch yourself in this like cycle of not actually being productive in the way that you want to be. I mean, yeah, you're getting everything done that you're supposed to get done at some point, but your priority, which was school and to study, is now gone. I know this is hard, and I know I hated when people would say this when I was younger and I was studying, because I would be in like middle school or high school and I wouldn't have a car yet, and I'd be like, where do you want me to go? Like, there's no way I can leave my house. But go to your living room. I have a really loud family, so that was not really an option for me. Go to the nearest public library, go to a coffee shop, sit outside. I don't really like studying outside, but that's also another viable option. If you have an apartment, go on your balcony. Just take yourself out or wherever you live if possible. So try to be minimally uncomfortable. And I don't mean like study upside down for 3 hours. I mean like leave the comfort of your enclosure, your abode. One of the last things I wanted to talk about was knowing when to actually stop studying. So it's so easy to keep going and like force yourself and, well, this person's studying for 12 hours straight and my friend told me that he's been studying for 8 hours and he still doesn't understand the material. Okay, that's great. But you need to know when to stop for yourself. And that was a hard thing for me, was knowing when to stop and to say, okay, I'm going to have to keep going tomorrow. Camera keeps falling. Sit down with yourself and think, okay, am I being lazy? Like, do I just want to leave because that means I don't have to be here studying? Or do I want to leave because I'm not really processing or understanding information? I'm tired and I can try again tomorrow. So these are all things to consider when studying in college. Technical difficulties. There was a lot of how to study videos, but I never really found any of them to be useful because they didn't really cater to science or maths or physics. It would all just be kind of like make flashcards. But like flashcards never really even worked for me. I hope that you guys learn, whoever's watching this. I hope that whoever's watching this video, I hope you guys take away anything from this video. I don't know if this is helpful at all, actually, but this is just kind of what I've learned over the years. Of course, there are more specific tips that I could say, like active recall or make sure to color code your notes, but I feel like everyone has their own way of note-taking, like retrieving their information, whether it's flashcards or Quizlet or using Anki or practicing questions with friends or writing their own multiple choice questions. Like everyone just has their own way of studying, and so I don't know how useful a note-taking video would be, but if you want to see that, I guess. I don't really know. Thanks for listening to me yap for I don't know how long. So listen to me, because I tend to be right. Bye!